Hey everybody, it's Mitch, and welcome to my next video. Today is Friday, which means it's time for another Dungeons & Dragons video. And today, I'm going to be talking about spells again. And today we're going to be talking about the difference between arcane and divine spells. So, let's get started. Let's start off with divine, since divine is a little bit simpler to understand. Let's actually start with arcane now that I think about it. So arcane, how it works is, this is when you really think of spell casting, at least when most people think of. This is where you draw power from within yourself and release it out into the world, and that power becomes something tangible like a fireball, or perhaps it's not that kind of magic. Maybe it's you're drawing power from within yourself to read someone else's mind, or to figure out where someone else is that's far away, or to teleport you and your group, or various different things that could be happening. But all of these things, you're drawing the power from within yourself. You're weaving signs with your hands. You're doing all these motions. You're chanting very specific phrases in order to make this magic happen. You found out secrets of the universe that allow magic to occur. Is basically what you're doing. Whether you're a wizard or a sorcerer or a bard or whatever, that's how you're doing it. And it's the typical magic that most people think of. Now, because of this stuff, you have all these verbal components, you have all these somatic components, which verbal components are verbal, obviously. Most people know what that word means. Somatic, that's a word I didn't know what it means. That means it's a word, basically a somatic component is a component of motion. So it has to do with your movement. So that's basically what somatic means in this case. So yeah, so you got your verbal components, you got your somatic components. Now the verbal components, talking is pretty simple in D&D, unless you get hit by something that doesn't allow you to do it. Somatic components, well, a lot of people like to wear armor, but see, your arcane casters can't, because that clunky armor gets in the way. I mean, yes, they can wear armor, but it's problematic. Even the lightest of armor is going to cause some problems. Okay, technically, I think like masterwork padded, you can get away with some stuff, but it's got to be like really cheap, really cheap armor. You might be able to get away with. Actually, no, that wouldn't work. But there's special properties you can get to get away with it. So, but any armor is going to interfere with your ability, and it's going to give you some arcane spell failure, which most casters don't want any. So they just don't wear armor, except for mage armor, which is a spell that gives armor, which works. They also will do things that aren't quite armor. Like sometimes they'll use like amulets of natural armor, which boost their natural armor, which doesn't mess with things. Rings of protection, stuff like that. So these kinds of mages have to do that. Bards can get away with light armor, but the wizards and sorcerers, not so much. Now, let's talk about the divine magic. This is a little bit harder to understand. The divine magic, you're calling on the gods or nature. You're calling on either in the case of a cleric, it's the gods. In the case of druid, you're calling on nature. Perhaps it's a deity acting on behalf of nature. I believe Obed High could very well be doing a lot of that. But it's a however you look at it, the power is not coming from you. It's coming from somewhere else. You're calling on an outside force to give you power and make something happen. And because of that, you still do have the verbal components and the somatic components, but they don't need to be as precise, seeing as the power doesn't come from you. It comes from something or someone else. Basically, you just need to communicate these things well enough that this outside power or outside force, whether it be nature or God or something, can understand you. That's all you need. So for instance, that's why clerics can wear armor without spell failure, because yeah, their movements are going to get messed up a little from the armor, but it's close enough that their god can understand them. Same with druids and other divine casters. This outside force, yeah, your arm may have twitched a little. It's like, yeah, I know what he was going for, though. The armor caught it. Like, they can see that. So there's no spell failure. Spell failure is only for arcane spells. The reason why I mentioned the second is because this is not the kind of magic people think of. Most people, when they think of magic and casting spells, they think of the arcane, the drawing the power from within yourself. This is not that. This is the kind of magic you see. This is the spiritual magic. Like the kind of magic you see when you see a priest drop to his knees and pray, and all of a sudden something happens. Some magic, force takes over. This is that kind of magic. This is the spiritual form of magic. Generally, these kinds of casters require a symbol of the outside force they're calling on. Like druids need the holy symbol of their deity, so they have to carry that on them somewhere, whether it be a symbol, maybe they brand it on their armor, something like that, and they use that as a focal point in order to, contact that deity and draw that power from there. Druids, they use thistle and holly or something like that. So basically, they use special things that they find in nature. They use that as a focal point to let nature itself, give them power, and that's where they're drawing their power from. So basically, that's the difference between arcane and divine spells and spell casting, at least at its most basic level. So I hope that helps you guys. If there's anything you guys want clarified, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below, or if you guys have anything to say on the matter. Definitely love to hear from you guys. Also, if you haven't already, if you enjoyed the video, consider consider sharing it, because maybe your friends want to see it too. Also, consider subscribing if you haven't already, because, we have one of these videos every Friday, plus additional Dungeons & Dragons videos on Fridays, where I do a description video talking about either a race, class, or prestige class from one of the supplement books in detail. So basically, I go into great detail on that. In addition, we have Dungeons & Dragons story videos every Thursday, where I take you on the journey of a Dungeons & Dragons story I did a few years ago. So that's basically Thursday videos. Wednesday videos, I talk a little bit more about myself. Then Saturday we have Naruto character reviews, and Sunday we have videos as well. So definitely hit subscribe if any of that interests you, if you haven't already. But anyways, as always, I'm Mitch, and I'll be seeing you.